2030, developing forest and resource rotation strategies, so you're not constantly destroying something, and repurposing industrial tools and technologies, and locating carbon sequestration tools. So we are saying it's not too late if you start out this, and then visualize infrastructure and coordinate migration corridors with a high-speed train, which is proposed to go through that area. And by 2040, increase polyculture farming and integrate crop rotation again to keep working on it, and develop mobile energy storage and battery hardware in this particular area. And by 2045, increase urban forestry and planning typologies, and develop and visualize integrated infrastructure strategies, and coordinate forestry, infrastructure, and city planning agencies. So in a way, going back to what I said before, is to coordinate urban growth and balance it against rural use, natural resources. And then it's much larger framework, what we think of. But if you don't have ideas to integrate natural resource conservation measure with urban growth, it's such an interrelated issue that we can't get anywhere about that. To do that, I think we really did analysis of new practice models and components and users and target group and agent, and then designers. And this is really a series of studies where the designers will go in terms of research, role of research, academy, investors. And traditional practice, as you can see it, this is, I go through it very quickly. Or lab innovator practice. This is innovation of lab between different, in research practice, producing exhibitions and books, publication for educational purposes, or being a political agent. I see Teddy Cruz there in terms of working closely with the community to make a change. I think Alvin is somewhere like political agent, as well as a lab innovator, as well as open source. I think Alvin is everything in here. It's hybrid everybody. In open source, like open architecture, Elemental, elephant design in Japan, or microfinance strategies, and social design venture, and hybrid nonprofit in case one is making something, but it gives a profit, but it has a multiple purposes of advertising for health campaign as kids are playing to generate energy for water tank and so forth. Integrated design practice, what we showed is a case in 2030. This is a little complicated, but we made a framework of how these practices can work in terms of setting up a program that we have shown you, so that how cast of characters can be working together to go through this idea. Now, I show you a few examples. This is more local. I think this may relate a little bit to Bilbao, is that we were asked to do analysis of ocean energy use. I know it's not ocean, but take in terms of this is also a state of Maine, very regional idea. And then we did, when we looked at it as a designer, we realized that private industry and business startup as opportunities, this is where they are highly dependent, not even totally dependent on fossil fuels. They are having energy problem, and also aging population. And, but we also said that this, again, when I talked about relationship of urban cities and rural, that we realized that land use policy and ocean governance, they have to intersect. Again, two silos. People dealing with land want to have nothing to do with ocean. Even though they intersect in coastal cities, they don't have relationship with each other. And in this particular area, we just identify different type of industries that exists, and then sources of energy. And it's like a very big amount of emissions and fuel in terms of fossil fuel. I would just go through vulnerability. When we started this analysis, these are the data which is combination of different data. No one knew, for example, vulnerability when we put together the income and each household use of fossil fuel for home heating. This is very cold place. And also for use for gas, remote community, rural communities, they have to drive. And we realized that household is now using about 25% of household income for fuel, both for gas and for motor vehicles, as well as for heating. That's huge. And that's not unlikely change. And in the case we predicted by future, it might actually increase to 50%. And our study is the wind potential offshore wind turbines and see what they can do. We discovered they need 5 gigawatts to make it completely sustainable. But Maine has capacity here for, 149 gigawatts. For example, that's the map you shows on the left, shows the potential. So in a sense, not only could be self-reliant, but it becomes the biggest, one of the biggest energy exporter. This is renewable alternative energy source. And Maine being the state where it's very good for sailing, and that's really optimum amount of speed of wind they need to produce offshore wind turbines.